Welcome to SU Football Weekly with Joe Austin. I'm your host, Carl Schoening, joined by the head coach of your Southwestern University Pirates, Joe Austin. Coach Austin, thanks for taking the time. I know you have a busy schedule.
Oh, no problem. I love doing SU Football Weekly and get a chance to do player interviews, which was good for a few weeks who couldn't do that. So looking forward to seeing those guys later on in the show.
Yep, later on we will be talking to Jacob Wiebelhaus as well as Will Earps. You can hear from an offensive lineman and the kicker of the team. But we're just kind of taking this first segment to recap last weekend's 34-31 loss at Louisiana College. And, Coach, what a roller coaster of a game. You start off down 13-0, you score 31 unanswered, and they went on a fourth quarter run to take the lead back. And can you kind of just sum up that game?
Well, we're on the wrong side of a classic game. I mean, what a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
The back and forth. They dominated the first quarter and the fourth quarter, and we dominated the second and the third quarter. You know, an interesting thing about the first quarter, and it's not an excuse, but we had 7 guys that were sick during the first quarter. So we're suspecting something with our catering. I mean, it's just a weird deal to have 7 guys, and they all ate the same thing with our caterer. And so that sure didn't help us. So as you said, we didn't have a great first quarter. We found ourselves down 13, came right back, played a great quarter in the second quarter. Defense got the ball for the offense. Offense scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal, a great 2-minute drive to push the 1-point lead to a 4-point lead. And then we came out in the third quarter again, and defense again created great turnovers. And our special teams created the turnover, and offense took advantage of that. So another great team quarter. And then the last 7 minutes of the game, we didn't do very many things right in any phase. And so we'll need to learn from that. And the next time we're in that situation, I'm confident that we'll do a better job of closing out that game. But you have to tip your hat to them. You know, they completed a long pass on us, and they came up with an interception, and they scored on offense. Really a great game. I enjoyed coaching it, and the outcome is a little sour, but man, our guys got after it. They played hard. They came back from being down. The guys that were sick got back in the game. I guess kind of they cleared out their systems, not to get into too much detail. Once it kind of ran through, those guys all got back in the game. And I tell the team all the time, in our division, we're in the tougher of the 2 divisions. We are. In the ASC, there's 4 teams, us and ETBU and Louisiana College and Belhaven, who we'll talk about in a minute, that are very closely matched. And whatever team plays better on that day is going to win. And, we were just a little bit short this last Saturday.
Yeah, you kind of summed it up there at the beginning, where it was such a well-matched game that one team won the first and the fourth quarter, and you guys won the second and the third, and it did just kind of come down to sort of the final moments of the game, and it was definitely a classic game, and I thought that you guys did a great job of just recovering from being down 13-0, because sometimes those punches in the mouth teams don't always recover, but you guys went ahead and had a great second quarter, mostly on the legs of Landry Gilpin, but you did a couple things that were kind of interesting with Austin Castilleja kind of being a running back coming out of the backfield, making some plays. He even had the double pass for the touchdown. I believe that was a touchdown, right, to Anthony Stevens, and he even had 2 passes for the game. So you guys really did throw in a lot of wrinkles there that did lead to 31 points. Can you kind of talk about the positives on the offensive side?
Well, the first thing is that our defense got our offense to football in some really advantageous positions. We recovered a fumbled punt and by Peyton Ludeman. And then we had another time where Major George forced a fumble and Peyton Ludeman recovered it again. And then Easton Feller intercepted a pass and ran down to the 5-yard line. So we got the ball offensively in some advantageous positions, which means you need to capitalize to be a good football team. And in the second and third quarter, we definitely did that. Part of what is a part of our culture, you mentioned being down 13, is that we just love to compete and we love to go play, and we try to be scoreboard blind. Now, in the fourth quarter, we weren't, because I think we had some unforced errors, maybe with some nervousness of trying to close out that game. But definitely in the first and second quarter, we were not worried about the scoreboard. We just wanted to keep our heads down and keep playing, and that's what allowed us to come back. And great testament to our players, just having a hardworking competition culture on our football team. So I think that's the key with for our offense, is that we got a lot of really good positions to start from. Some fun plays, though. Moving Austin around, he's probably our most dynamic offensive player from the skill position. Landry Gilpin also has some great dynamics to him. And remember, Landry's coming off a knee injury. He's just going to be more athletic in the years to come, and the more experience he gets, the better he's going to play. But he caught 2 passes. I think he had 3 touchdown passes. Yeah, Austin Castilleja caught 1 and threw 1. I mentioned in a few shows that I think we're developing some good ability to be a passing football team, and I'm hoping these next 2 games we'll continue to see even more of that come out, and use even more of our perimeter guys and be able to create more big plays. But we're also going to have week-to-week things that we're going to try to design to give us some advantages through creating some big plays on whatever it may be that week.
I kind of feel like it's been a trend all season long, but your team's pretty well disciplined despite not playing for what was it, 19 months, more or less. You guys don't really have egregious personal fouls or flags or anything along those lines. There was a Jules Williams pass interference that I didn't quite see from my angle that was called in the end zone during the game, but other than that, nothing really stands out as a backbreaker of a penalty. Could you maybe touch on your team's kind of clean play?
We were talking again about our culture. We want to be Southwestern men. I mean, we want to be doing things the right way and being disciplined and honorable. And of course, tempers happen. We're not a perfect football team by any means, but we don't have a giant margin of error. We're not the University of Miami from the 80s who can lead the nation in penalties and also win the national championship just because you're so uniquely dynamic and talented. So playing clean and not having those errors is certainly one of the things that we work on. And sometimes pass interferences can be good plays. We got beat inside on that one, and Jules, rather than giving up the touchdown, gave up the first down. And so sometimes as a coach, there are such things as good penalties. And it's the same thing in basketball too, right? The guy's free to the basket. Sometimes you don't give up the dunk. Sometimes you put them on the line. So that was kind of the situation with that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of been something I've seen all season, so that's obviously a big factor kind of going into how you guys have done so well, just not putting yourselves behind the chains, and that's obviously a key in every game. Obviously the goal is 0 penalties, but not always the most realistic. We have Jacob Wiebelhaus and Will Herbst coming up next here on the show. Could you just kind of touch on their development as Pirates and them as players and people?
Sure. So Jacob, just by luck, became the 4th of the 4 captains to come on the show. So he's kind of completing our set of interviews with our captains. Jacob is another hardworking, self-made player, and I think you can find that as a theme in our captains. Is they're guys that work, and they're guys that have discipline and just have all the Southwestern man attributes we want to have. He's undersized. He's under height. I don't know the right way to say that. He's shorter than the prototypical lineman, I guess, explains that. But he overcomes it, and he works so hard. He's played through so many injuries. He's had knee surgeries, and just a great example of diligence and overcoming. And he's going to become a football coach himself, I think, and he's going to do a great job with that. Will Herbst came in and has played a lot since he's been a freshman, and he's gotten better every year. And this year he took on both the punting duties in addition to being a place kicker. He hadn't punted for a while until we wanted him to start punting last fall, and we kind of found his style. Our quick little kind of half roll to the left, he's great. I know he can stand back there and punt it too, so eventually we'll probably have a few different ways we'll have him punt. But he's done great in both of those areas. In fact, his teammates have elected him the special teams player of the game in each of our first 3 games. He was a special teams player of the week against East Texas Baptist for the conference. So on the strength of all of his accolades, we've invited him to come to SU Football Weekly to tell a little bit more about how he's doing as our kicker and punter, which he's doing really, really well.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to those interviews with them. But first, before we continue here with the interview segment on SU Football Weekly, let's check out the highlights from last week at Louisiana College. Gilpin drops back for a pass, rolls out to the left. He's going to decide to tuck it and run across the 25-30. Shifts angles back to the left hash marks at the 35. Finds room at the 40 and is down at the 45-yard line. And Landry Gilpin, always dangerous with his legs. Gilpin on the play action decides to tuck it and run again as he escapes to the left side across midfield to the 45 and pushed out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Give to Castilleja, who will pass it back to Gilpin, and now Gilpin has some receiving yards. He has room after the catch, and he gets across the 30 to the 20, tries to get past one more defender at around the 10, and Landry Gilpin has done it all on this drive for the Pirates. Rolling out to the right is Gilpin. He looks back to the left side, lobs it up deep, and it's caught, completed by the Pirate. Coming in with the big-time catch is Joey Robinson.
Southwestern. That was a great design play.
Landry Gilpin. Two receivers to the right, and now Castilleja will go in motion. It's a handoff to Tasigui as he counters back around the right hash mark, and he slides to the 44-yard line for a solid pick of about 9 yards on first down. Gilpin will drop back, and he throws it across the middle to Powell. Powell's a lot of space across the middle, ducks his shoulder, and gets to the yard to gain, I believe. This will be a first down for the Pirates. Mason Biggers isolated on the right side as Castilleja clears out to the left. First and 10 from the 25. Gilpin passes over to the left side, and Castilleja will now do a double pass, and Anthony Stevens wide open in the end zone for the Pirates touchdown. One-step drop, and he finds Anthony Stevens wide open in the middle of the field across the 45 to midfield, and then spins into Wildcat territory at the 46-yard line.
Another first down for the Pirates. Good yards after catch for Stevens.
Herbst from 33 yards. Through the uprights and good, and that is how the second half will end. The Pirates add on 3 more to their lead. They take a 17-13 lead into the locker room tent. Castilleja goes in motion. Here's Gilpin, gives it to him on the option. He follows the block from Dawson Gonzalez, and he picks up the first down. Gilpin rolls to the right, and Castilleja makes the catch on the right sideline, picks up the first down near midfield. Here for Gilpin. He's under pressure as he throws it to the end zone. Nathan Powell with the touchdown for the Pirates. Two receivers to the left, a single receiver to the right, and a tight end on the right side. A blitz being shown by the Pirates. A hit as he throws. It's intercepted. Taking it the other way is Easton Feller. Feller has nobody in front of him as he crosses the 40, the 30. He has a one man to beat at the 10, and he is brought down from behind inside the 5. Gilpin on the play action, finds Castilla coming off of the sweep action, gets into the end zone for a touchdown.
Great design play. The defense had no clue. Castilla, they thought it was going to be a jet sweep, but that they wouldn't deliver that as a pass. They did. He used his speed to get to the corner.
A fumble here. Ludeman comes up with it again on the give. It comes out of the hands of Milburn, and it's a turnover on the Wildcats. Pirates will take over at around their own 41-yard line.
Ludeman is having a great quarter here in the third. That's his second fumble recovery. He's had a couple of tackles as well.
Welcome back to SU Football Weekly. We are now joined by the starting kicker. I guess that's right. Starting kicker would be the right term for Will Earps. And it's obviously a position that is used so seldomly, but you are the starting kicker, and you've also become the starting punter this season. So, you're just the man who does it all. You've won Special Teams Player of the Week 3 times in a row for the Pirates. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on SU Football Weekly, Will.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carl, for having me, man. Excited to be here.
So what is the kind of kicker lifestyle like? Because obviously you guys aren't doing the same things, whether it's practice or otherwise. So what is your typical life as a kicker outside of Saturdays?
Yeah, so being the kicker is a pretty good gig. We have a little bit different system than the rest of the team. We aren't doing the full drills and the rest of the this is a different like team setting practices that we do with this is a normal offense and defense. But what we do is we still we're still part of the team. We still do conditioning. We still lift. We still go to all the team meetings that doesn't require us are the meetings that actually require us to be there. So it's a pretty good gig. I love being a kicker. I've been kicking my entire life, so I like being here.
So, I was thinking about using this later, but I'm still so curious about it. Laces in or laces out?
Definitely laces out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to make sure that the ball's like as straight as possible, and I don't really have a preferred tilt on the ball either. I know some kickers do have a preference there, but I just like it straight up and down, just sending it straight forward there.
So do you even know what I'm referencing? Have you seen Ace Ventura?
Oh, gotcha.
I wanted to see if you would even catch that. But yeah, well, what year were you born? I hate to date myself here.
2000. So
okay,
I'm still pretty young, but.
Well, that movie definitely came out after you were before you were born. So yeah,
I have seen the movie before. I didn't catch that one.
So let me get this right on the reference. Laces in, and you prefer them out, right? Okay, so yeah, that's actually normal, I think. But it's sort of funny how that kind of catches on and becomes a thing of its own. The kicker position, as you mentioned, just kind of different. But you've also stepped into the role of punter. You had 6 punts for 217 yards this past weekend against Louisiana College, and you've just had you've done a phenomenal job this entire season at that position, and you didn't do any punting last year. So what's kind of been the change in what you've had to do to prepare for kind of a dual role there as place kicker as well as punter?
Yeah, so my roommate from last year, Victor, he was a punter previously, and he's from Denmark. He was an awesome punter, just amazing punts every time he touched the ball with his foot. So he was a good kind of a role model to look off of, but he transferred, and so I kind of had to assume that role. And I did punt in high school, so I'm used to being being used to, being in the backfield and catching the punts in the end zone, that sort of thing. So it's nothing really too new for me. I just kind of had to get back in the groove of things because I focused more on, field goals and kickoffs last year in my freshman year. So, it's nothing too different. It's just, just a little bit more athleticism involved if you have to, if something happens where you have to adapt a little bit. So I like that part of punting a lot.
And you sort of have that semi-rugby style kick where you take a couple steps. You're left-footed, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
So, yeah. So what kind of is the difference there as maybe just a simple drop kick versus getting a couple steps into it?
Yeah, just that rugby style, it kind of gives me a little bit more time to look around the field and see where the returner is. And then it also allows our defense to kind of get farther down the field first. And then hopefully by the time the ball gets to the returner, they're a lot closer where they need to be. So he doesn't have as many yards to get the return going. So I like it. It's and also we practiced it a little bit last fall, and Coach Austin seemed really comfortable with that. And he was like, we're going to move to that. So we've gone forward ever since.
And that's sort of maybe the fastest paced position on the field, the punter, because you have to get that thing off. And in fact, maybe if you remember, I'm sure you do, the play against UMHB where you actually had it blocked, but you somehow were able to read the bounce and pick up the first down.
Sure.
What goes into how fast that position actually is, because the guys are after you?
Yeah, just with that sort of thing, you kind of have to gauge the rushers. So like against ETBU, kind of the first punt, I get it off fast just to kind of see how that's looking. But then from there, from the second punt, third punt, I can gauge how fast they're coming at me. And UMHB, they were coming a lot faster. They were sending 3 or 4 guys off the left side, and it kind of overran our guys. So almost every punt, I had to shorten my steps. And then on that one where it got blocked, that just was, some really big guys coming at our guys. So, and that play particularly, I just, you can't really think and imagine what's going to happen there. You just have to just get it and run. And, there's some big guys coming after you, so you're just going to run fast.
So shifting gears to off the field, as a student at Southwestern University, you major in business, you minor in economics. Is that still correct?
Yes, sir. That's the plan right now.
That's pretty wide field. Do you know what you're maybe going to do with that?
I do. Actually, my entire family has a history with veterinary, like the veterinary area. So my grandpa was a veterinarian, and my dad sells pharmaceutical sales for veterinarians. So I want to go into that as well, whether that's being like a manufacturer's rep or a large like a large overview of the company where I can be like a just like anywhere in the sales department with the veterinary side. But that's the plan for right now. So I'll get into some internships coming here pretty soon. But that's the plan.
Do you have a favorite class this semester that you've taken?
Yeah, I have a few. I actually got into some comm classes, like some business communications classes, and I found that those really benefit you with kind of like going for job searching and interviews and that sort of thing. And also in management communications, you work a lot on networking and kind of like getting your LinkedIn profile ready for whenever you want to start looking for opportunities. So I've been loving that.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what you do off of the field, as we were going to enjoy you a little bit longer on the field as well. You're technically a junior, but you're also technically not burning your junior year of eligibility. So, you kind of have some fun to play with that here. Have you put any thought to just kind of that extra year of eligibility, because you don't really have, you're not like a senior who it's like, coming up this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's still kind of up in the air at this point. I know that a lot of guys at D3 is a little difficult because there's not scholarship, obviously, with athletic and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering if maybe in the future that the university adds some sort of scholarship for the COVID, because obviously this is a different year. I mean, this has never happened before. So I'm interested to see what happens there. But it'll be up in the air for that for now.
Absolutely. Well, hey, the floor is yours here as we just kind of wrap things up. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people watching back home?
Yeah, man. Just kind of a general of going over the season. I've really enjoyed going through it. I know it's kind of like a kind of not a practice year, but just an intermediate year. To we're actually gonna have a full season next year. But I just know we're so close to being really great, and I know we're right there, and we just need to pick it up a little bit. And I know that we're gonna be a really good team next year, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time joining us, Will. Good luck on Saturday against Belhaven. And probably should have asked a question about Belhaven, but one quick question: does it really change that much week to week what your job is because of a different opponent?
Yeah, I think that we just have to. It's just we've gone through 3 games, and I think that there's been a shift in our mind, especially last week with Louisiana College. We were just right there at the very end. I think that if we just continue to do our assignments and we just don't take our foot off the pedal, we just keep going, keep scoring, keep making sure our defense is stopping every drive, I think that it's going to be a really good week next week, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch.
Great. Well, thank you again for the time, Will. We're looking forward to Saturday. Coming up next on SU Football Weekly, we're going to have a quick hype video for you across SU athletics, and then we're going to sit down with offensive lineman Jacob Wiebelhaus. Back in a moment on SU Football Weekly. Welcome back to SU Football Weekly as the Pirates prepare to take on the Belhaven Blazers for their final game of the season. We're now joined by Jacob Wiebelhaus, and I want to start right there, Jacob. Is it Wiebelhaus or Wiebelhaus?
Well, I think the correct German pronunciation is Wiebelhaus with a kind of like a V sound at the beginning, but we've always said Wiebelhaus, so.
Wiebelhaus. Well, great. It's I should have mentioned you're an offensive lineman for the team, and you're an offensive captain, and we've actually been able to knock out all 4 captains on this show throughout the season, so we're happy to get that in. You're the final one, but, last but not least in the sort of sense, what's it like being a captain on this Pirate squad?
It's a really big honor, just being a guy that everybody can count on, and in the leadership position. It's probably one of my biggest feats that I've had since I joined the Southwestern football team. Like I said, it's just an amazing thing to be named a captain meant and means so much to me.
I imagine it does, because you've been on this team and you've been a big part of this team, and now you kind of take on these responsibilities as a captain. I understand from the previous conversation, Coach keeps it easy on you, but what kind of responsibilities do you take on as an individual yourself to be a captain within the team?
One of the things I really try to do, and tried to do this year especially, is just bring all the freshmen in under my wing and make sure that they're feeling at home and that their family and everything like that. All this COVID stuff has made it kind of difficult to communicate and really get to know some of these guys. So I know this summer I was getting a hold of all the guys coming in and all the older guys, just checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, what they've been up to, just stuff like that. Another big thing is communication. That's that's one of the big things I try to do is be that line of communication between the coaches and the players, and the players and the coaches, making sure everybody knows what's going on or what we're doing, and just things like that.
Kind of moving back to the game between the lines, you guys have Belhaven this weekend. Final game of the season, senior day, or final game of the regular season, I should say. Can you just maybe take us into the thought process for preparing for Belhaven?
They're a good team, that's for sure. We've been studying hard, studying a lot of film this week. We're ready to get out there and compete. They're a good team. We're a good team as well. We want to get out there and we want to put as many points up on the scoreboard as we can and keep them off the scoreboard. Hopefully, our defense does a really good job, and hopefully we can all work together as one cohesive unit and just go out there and get the dub. That would be great.
Now, it's sort of interesting. This will be probably the first time in anybody's football career that you're on your fourth opponent, and your fourth opponent has played the same previous three opponents that you've played. So you talk about all that film. Does that change the dynamic any, as sort of, that worked against them and we know how to do that because you've played East Texas Baptist already, so is Belhaven, and so on and so forth. So what's the kind of thought process there? Does that matter at all, or is that just me kind of noticing something a little different?
For me, I just kind of do what the coaches tell us to do. They'll give us that game plan. I know they're in there working hard every week, every weekend. They know how to scheme, and they scheme well, and it always makes sense to me. I don't know exactly their thought process on how they're going through making their plays and stuff, but I know we have a scheme, we have an offense, and I don't know if they switch it up to kind of match what other teams had success in, but I know we're going to do our thing on Saturday, so we're just ready to go get out there and play.
So shifting to Jacob Wiebelhaus, before we talk about you as a student, I need to ask about the man that has the mustache. When did this come around? I only see you with a helmet most of the time, so that was like oh wow, this is going to be something we talk about on the pod or the show. So what's the story behind the mustache there? It's looking great, by the way.
Thank you. So been growing it for about 2 years. I had a big long beard 2 years ago, and it was like we were in off season and we were out running sprints, and it was sleeting that day. So I was like, maybe I should keep the beard a little bit longer if it's going to stay cold. And then the next Friday we were out running again, and it was like 89, 90 degrees, somewhere in there. I was like, okay, the beard has to go. So I was shaving the beard, and I was just kind of messing with the mustache a little bit, and I was like, hey, I might be able to curl this. And then bought some mustache wax and kept curling it after that, and been growing it out for 2 years and trying to go for the best mustache in college football. I don't know if anybody else has seen it that way, but got to try, right?
I will need to see if that's actually an award voted on at the end of the year, because I think that you could be in the running. That would be fun to find out if that's something. We definitely need to figure that one out. You major in business and kinesiology. Do you have any idea what you might do with that? Because business is kind of a wide spectrum, but then you back it up with kinesiology, maybe a gym or something like that?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I've been thinking about, like just a performance coaching center, something like that. I don't know. I really want to coach. I don't know what level, or football for sure, but I also really like baseball. I'd love to coach some baseball as well. But I got a little bit of time left to figure out what I want to do exactly, so I don't really want to rush into anything, and I'm just trying to keep all my options open. I know business is a very general major, and you can go do almost anything you want with a business degree, and kines as well. Kines is very broad as well. You can do a lot with that too. So just trying to keep all my options open. Like I said, I'll probably end up coaching at some point. So.
Well, we wish you good luck in whatever you do decide to do in the open world of, post-COVID. You're going to have a lot of opportunities, because I think we mentioned this on another podcast, and this was the case going into before 2020. kinesiology slash personal trainers and need for fitness professionals is just such a booming industry, and you obviously have a lot more credibility as a former NCAA football player than most personal trainers. So that'll maybe make you in even higher demand for a high demand field when all this is over and we can start having one-on-one training sessions again, and then go back to coaching as normal as well. Well, Jacob, you've been great. We do have a final, just what would you like to say to the people watching back at home opportunity here? I'm sure as a senior, you have met a lot of people that are probably watching this show, and it's your floor more or less to speak to them.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's helped me out along the way. Doc Benavides and all the athletic training staff that helped me out a lot over these 4 years. Mom and Dad, thanks for your love and support. My little brothers, love y'all too. Y'all keep working. We'll see you this weekend at the game. And all my extended family. Couldn't have been a college football player without anybody in my support system. And I just want to thank all y'all for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jacob. When we come back on SU Football Weekly, we'll be sitting down with Joe Austin for the final segment previewing this weekend's game against Belhaven. Welcome back to SU Football Weekly. I'm your host, Carl Schoening, along with Joe Austin, again here to preview this upcoming weekend's game against the Belhaven Blazers. And, Coach, this is a team that lost their first 2 games of the season. Then they win at Louisiana College thanks to jumping up 20-3 going into the fourth quarter. They actually lost the lead in that game, and they were able to, in the last 4 minutes of the game, I believe, add on 2 more touchdowns to win that one 33-24. But is this the first time in your career that you've played a 4th game and the opponent has played the other 3 opponents you've played before? I think it has to be, right?
I'm sure it is. I mean, yeah, I don't think I have to go back and look at any books. I think, yeah, that's probably the exact case. Never happened before in my experience.
Well, it's definitely just kind of what this season is in a way. We have so much going on Saturday. It is the last game scheduled at Birkelbach Field. Hopefully we see what happens with the playoffs, but obviously you have a big opportunity here to say goodbye to some seniors. You want to get your first win of the season. What's just going to be everything that comes with this weekend's game?
Well, for us, we want to be really good at our process of preparing and practicing and going into the game and having the same attitude and the same mentality. So we don't have a big game, small game mentality, but we're just trying to take them all the same way. I know that's the boring coach answer, but that's the answer of how we want to approach this game. It will be fun to be able to try to do some things with our seniors. We're still working through with our administration, if we're going to be able to do an on-field senior ceremony or just show a video or what that may be. But regardless, it is our senior day. Being that's likely going to be our last home game for those seniors, and of course, you want to go out on a high note. And I think, as I said in the first segment, we're playing another team that we're going to be really evenly matched with. These guys beat Louisiana College and they lost to East Texas Baptist, and so those teams have been kind of passing around and beating each other because they're all pretty similar. And so we're going to have a chance this weekend. We'll just have to play a 4-quarter game. We can't just win the second and third. We'll have to try to win all 4.
It is a team that's kind of improved. They lost the first game 41-0 against UMHB, and then they lost to East Texas Baptist 44-14. And then they did come up with that win against Louisiana College, and then they had a bye week. So they're going to come in prepared for Southwestern, having seen all of your games to this point. Also, kind of in a weird way, knowing all of your opponents so well to see what you sort of took advantage that they've taken advantage of. Is there some kind of weird, I come back to that, I guess. Is there some kind of like weirdness to this game, or do you kind of just only focus on your team and not worry about the fact that you guys have both played the same 3 opponents to the 4th game of the season?
Well, I think there's just more knowledge to be gleaned by being able to know that you've played the same teams that they've played. So I think it puts a little more meaning into your film study. It gives you a little bit more insight. But I think it's equal for both teams. I think it's going to be very even footing. We talked early in the year about playing games blind, going into our first 2 games with no information, whereas now we're going to have about all the information you could want to have 3 full games. But it's going to be very even as far as the ability to scout and prepare.
And this isn't necessarily this weekend's game. Looking a little bit forward to the playoff round, could we kind of rehash that? It's been a little while since our first show where we talked about it, but what is the sort of game plan for this playoff as we sort of have it to understand?
Sure. So the last game of the season is going to be a crossover where they're going to seed the teams 1 through 5 in each division, and then they'll match up and play. So if we win, we'll be the 4 seed. If we lose, we'll be the 5 seed. And there's, right now there's 4 scenarios of where we could go. We could go to Sul Ross out in Alpine, and then we could either have a home or away game against either Howard Payne or against McMurray. So those are kind of the 3 teams that seem likely scenarios in the analysis of the standings. With our no spectator policy, we have already reached out to a couple potential opponents to see if they'd be willing to make a deal to take our home game, which we normally wouldn't give up a home game, but it would be so great for our players and for our parents to get to play at a stadium where they're allowing spectators. And this is what, our school is supportive of this, by the way. So it's not like we're trying to work around the school. I met with our athletic director about it on Monday, and we're on the same page of if we can safely get to a stadium where they're going to allow some spectators, it's something that we would seek. So those 3 schools are our potential opponents, and the location is to be determined. But it's likely, even if we were to be the home team, we would be trying to move that game to one of those away locations.
I just wanted to go ahead and kind of get that clarified, because I kind of thought that was going to be the case, where it seems like it'll be a road game, and here we are 10 days before that potential game. I just want all the fans to know that that's sort of the situation. So thank you for kind of answering that question. Back to Belhaven, and I'm sure it's more or less the same answer every week, but what are the keys to success against the Blazers?
They have the best running backs that we're going to play. And so we've got to tackle them. We've got to do really well. Now, last week, our defensive line as a whole graded out pretty well, meaning that they were doing their job of taking away gaps and occupying linemen. So they'll need to do that again. And we're going to have to get a lot of players involved in the run game. We're getting very thin at linebacker. We've lost several linebackers to season-ending injuries. which means we're going to have to put our guys in the best positions we can, but also get help from our safeties and our corners. So it's kind of an all hands on deck approach to stopping the run. Not that they can't throw the football, but they're a run first, power run, I formation, under center at times, traditional come and get it. We're coming at you, stop us type of running football team. And with their running backs, it's a good plan. They're very good running backs. Offensively, I kind of mentioned in the first segment, and to tip our hand is we want to continue to develop and lean into what we're building in our passing game, because I think we can do well. So many guys are making contributions. Last week, I think 5 or 6 guys had catches, and so we're going to try to continue to do that, because the strength of their defense is their defensive line. They have a 3-man line, and they're all 3 seniors, and they're all 3 or 4 year starters and all conference candidates. They plug up the middle really well. Doesn't mean we won't be able to run the ball a little bit, but we're going to try to. We're not going to beat our head against the wall. They're going to take away the inside gaps really well. They take them away against everybody. So that's going to put the game a little bit more on the perimeter, and hopefully this is going to play into the hands of what we're trying to build as far as an offensive identity.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it, Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time. Before we go, anything you want to say to wrap up this SU Football Weekly before the Belhaven game this Saturday on the 20th?
I think common question folks ask, you come off of a heartbreaker of a loss. It was a classic game, yeah, but you're on the wrong side of it. How do you bounce back? And the answer is our guys bounced back really well. We were right back in the weight room on Sunday. And they were all ready to go. They were enthusiastic. We had a great team meeting Monday and unit meetings. We had a really good practice Monday night, again on Tuesday. So they're resilient. They bounce back because, as I said, our culture is not about being just married to the scoreboard. Heck yeah, we want to win, but it's about being competitors. And so I really just want to sing their praises for being competitors. And I think we're going to come back and we're going to have a really strong effort and compete our butts off this Saturday against Belhaven.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait for it. Once again, kickoff at 1 o'clock here on SHN Sports, Southwestern versus Belhaven. Hope to have you guys join us on the live stream. Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see y'all next time. It'll be Saturday at 1, and then, of course, SU Football Weekly before the playoff game Wednesday at 6. Good night, everybody.
Come on.